Coming up on Chicago Bears Now, I'm going to go through the Bears' impending free agents and decide whether or not the Bears should re-sign them in free agency. So that is what we're doing in just a moment. But first, spread the word. Share this video on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Click the share button. Select the Twitter or X icon. I think it actually still is Twitter on mobile, but if it shifted to X, click X. Click post to Twitter and then tag me before you fire off the tweet at HGramNFL. I will retweet everybody that does this. I'll follow you back as well. So follow these steps, share the video, and I will follow and retweet you on Twitter. All right, let's dive into these free agents here. Jaylen Johnson, who's obviously the biggest impending free agent for the Chicago Bears, the cornerback who's had a career year in a contract year. He's graded out very well. According to Pro Football Focus, and it doesn't take a genius to know that he's having a hell of a year. Just open your eyes. Like, the only bad thing you can say about him is, yeah, he's dropped a couple pick sixes. Those would be nice, but he still has 3 picks this year. His QB rating when targeted is less than 40, which, again, is, if you spike the football on every play, it's 39.6. So quarterbacks would be better off just throwing it out of bounds than targeting Jaylon Johnson. Coverage has been terrific. The good news for the Bears is they've got the franchise tag. So an extension is preferable. I would like that to happen. But if that does not happen, I do think he'll get franchise tagged. I don't think there's any scenario where the Bears just let him hit the open market. Now, there could be a scenario where they tag and then ultimately trade him if Johnson's just very unhappy and demands a trade again and they just decide to move on. But at minimum, you're going to get something back in return because he's just too good of a player to let walk out the door. And since they already locked up Montez Sweat, he's the perfect player to franchise tag if you don't get a deal done. Now, what will the Bears do with Jaylen Johnson? Like, if you had to predict it right now, what do you think happens? If you think they're going to work out a deal, get an extension done, type E for extension, or if you think this is going down the franchise tag route, type T for franchise tag. Get your votes in the comments section. Let's talk about a guy we had a lot of hope for when he signed in August, Yannick Ngakoue, and he hasn't been horrible, but he hadn't been very good either. Like, let's be honest. Yannick has been a disappointment. He's only got 3 sacks in 12 games. He had never had less than 8 in his career in a season, and look, maybe he goes on a streak here, gets 5 over the final 5 weeks, but I doubt it. I'm open to bringing him back on a cheap 1-year deal to be like a rotation situational pass rusher, but he's not good against the run. He doesn't seem to have as much burst as he used to. Again, if he's your 3rd or 4th rusher, okay, but you paid, $10.5 million for him? I don't think I'd go more than $4 or $5 million. He just has not been that good, unfortunately. Justin Jones, who I actually thought has been playing pretty well recently for the Bears. He's sparked a little bit at that defensive tackle position. Now, also, Gervon Dexter, the rookie, has been playing some of his best ball recently as of well, which I do think factors in to a potential decision on Justin Jones. Because I like him, just not as a starter. But I think you want to upgrade overall, right? Like, Dexter's kind of the wild card here. Like, if you come to the conclusion at the end of the season that Dexter's your starting 3 tech next year, then I would actually be open to bringing Justin Jones back as your backup. But if you're unsure on Dexter, if you like him, but you don't know if he can be your starter, then I think you got to upgrade from Justin Jones. I think you got to go find someone in free agency probably to replace him. Chris Jones could be out there. We'll see what happens in Kansas City. We know Ryan Poles was in that front office for a long time. I like Justin Jones, but it kind of does depend on what Gervon Dexter does over these final 5 weeks. How about Cairo Santos, the Bears kicker, who's just been absolutely sensational this year? You look at the numbers, 23 of 25 from field goals, which is 92%, only has missed the 1 PAT, and he's perfect from 50-plus. That was a big knock on him, coming into this year especially. Is like, yeah, he's pretty automatic inside 50, but he doesn't have a very strong leg. The leg strength has improved. He's still not going to be a guy you're going to try 63-yarders with at the end of halves or games or whatever, but 6 for 6 from 50-plus is fantastic. His touchback percentage is at over 81%. That's improved. I would extend him right now. I wouldn't even let him hit free agency. Like, give him like a two-year, $10 million deal. Lock him up for $5 million a year. Like, he's solid, rock solid, man. He's 33, so I don't think you're giving him like a 5-year deal or something like that. But 2-year deal, that's the last thing I want to be worrying about this offseason is the kicker, right? Like, I know what Cairo Santos brings. I can't say he's the best kicker in the league because he's not going to bang in those 58, 60-yarders when you absolutely need him. Like, his range is kind of 55, 56. But he's pretty damn rock solid inside of that, man. Like, he when he misses, it's a surprise. So I would get that done and keep one of the 5 or 6 best kickers in the NFL. What should the Bears do with Cairo Santos? Type K for keep him or L for let go. I don't think you can let this guy go. He's just been too good. So I'm going to type K for keep. Let's go to Darnell Mooney now, who, I think he's the biggest wild card for this whole thing, because if I'm Darnell Mooney, I'm probably not very happy with how Luke Getsy has used me this year. Like, they seem to use him more as a blocker on the perimeter than as a receiver for some reason. But on the flip side, he's really good friends with Justin Fields. Like, they're best pals. Is Fields here next year? Like, I kind of feel like if Fields is gone, Mooney's just going to walk. But if he's back, maybe Justin convinces him to stay. I will say this. If you keep Darnell Mooney, I think you got to keep him in the thought of he's going to be our pure slot number 3 guy. Now, I think in a perfect world, Chase Claypool would have ascended, been that number 2 guy, but that obviously evaporated. So Mooney's had to be that true number 2, which, he's a fine number 2, but I think he's a really good number 3. So if you could get a Marvin Harrison or a Malik Neighbors or someone like that in the draft, put Moon in the slot, maybe you get him back for like $8-10 million per year. I think you're cooking at that point offensively. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks, guys. Daily fantasy is made easy with Prize Picks, unlike other apps who choose to make it super complicated. What's cool about Prize Picks is they set stat projections for yards, touchdowns, fantasy points, and all you have to do as a consumer is take a gander if they'll go for more or less than their Prize Picks projected stats. Like, for example, Justin Fields, I think he scratches 200 passing yards this week, so give me the more on his projected passing yards there. DJ Moore, he's averaging like 98 yards per game with Justin Fields this season, more or less set at 70.5, so give me the more there. I think the St. Browns go for less. Jared Goff in cold weather historically does not play well. It's going to be cold and windy at Soldier Field on Sunday, so give me the less on St. Brown and give me the less on EQ as well. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use our code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100. It's Prize Picks. Daily fantasy made easy. Go check them out today, right now. Lucas Patrick, guard, center, strictly kind of a center at this point. Let's get to the next guy so we can loop these two together. Dan Feeney, same deal, center, guard, whatever. As negative as I am about Lucas Patrick, and believe me, I am, you do probably need a backup center, and if you have one, it's nice to have one who is well-respected in the locker room, can play guard in a pinch if needed. That is true for both of these guys. So bring one back to be a backup center, okay, but let me be clear. You cannot have Lucas Patrick be the starter. Get a damn starting center, and if God forbid someone gets hurt, well, at least Lucas Patrick's been around, but yeah, you've got to upgrade there. But I am open to bringing one back as the backup. Deontay Foreman is an interesting one because Deontay Foreman was a healthy scratch for about a month earlier in the year. Some injuries opened the door for him. Khalil Herbert went down. Roschon had the concussion. And Foreman's run well. I think the Bears like his physical attitude, how he can wear down defenses. Now, he's not going to be a guy averaging 5.5 yards per carry, which we've seen from Khalil Herbert sometimes, but he's a physical downhill runner. I'd like to bring him back. Like, when I think Bears football, I think of a guy who can be a physical runner. Now, we're trying to get out of some of those, 1980s habits, but that doesn't mean physical running attack still doesn't play. Like, I think Foreman is a rotation guy that can give you some of that thump. Makes a lot of sense. Now, there's limitations there. He's not very good in blitz pickup. He doesn't give you anything on special teams. But if he's like your number 2 back or something like that, or hell, even your lead runner, but like you have a clear third down back, which could be Roschon, that could be the case. Now, I think the wild card in this is how do the Bears feel about Khalil Herbert moving forward? Because when he plays, he's pretty good, but he's had some injuries as well. They drafted Roschon for a reason. He's a free agent. after next year. So I think that could be a wild card. But I would like to see Foreman back, especially if it is on a cheap deal. Now, who do you guys think is the Bears' best running back right now? If you think it's Deontay Foreman, type DF. If you think it's Khalil Herbert, type KH. If you think it's Roschon, type RJ. I think Roschon Johnson has the potential to be the most complete back. I think we've seen that. He's good in pass pro. He catches the ball well. He's a physical runner. But let me know what you guys think. DF for Deontay Foreman, KH for Khalil Herbert, or RJ for Roschon Johnson. Let's go to Equanimeous St. Brown here, the wide receiver. Look, say what you want about EQ, but as like a number 5, number 6 receiver, I actually like him because he knows his role. He doesn't bitch about his role. I'd bring him back on a Vetman deal again. Remember last year, like before Week 18, they signed him to like a $1.1 million extension. You're like, that's random. Well, they like him in the building. He's arguably your best blocking receiver. Like, he's not going to, he doesn't have an ego. Like, as your number 5, I'm in. Like, $1 million, bring him back. Sure, I'd bring him back for a few years if that's all he's going to command. And, play that special teams and wide receiver 5 blocking type of role. That's perfectly fine with me. Now, Trent Taylor, I don't really feel the same. Not because he doesn't have value. He is a solid punt returner, but he pretty much gives you nothing in the offense. So, like, if you're the Bears, can you please find somebody that can catch punts that can also do other things? Like, signing Trent Taylor made sense this year. Velus Jones, they tried it again. It was a disaster. You needed somebody reliable out there. Great, cool. I'm glad you did that. But he does nothing else for this football team. So, can Tyler Scott become that guy next year? I don't think it's going to be Velus. I think that ship has sailed. But have your punt returner, at minimum, at least contribute in other special teams units, but ideally on offense or defense as well. I mean, you're just kind of burning a roster spot for a guy just to catch punts, which is not the most ideal. Join the channel, subscribe. We're publishing Bears content all the time here on Chicago Bears Now. Multiple videos almost every single day, so hit that sub button and join the channel. All right, let's talk about both these tight ends at once. Both came down from Green Bay. Robert Tonyan, Marcedes Lewis. Robert Tonyan had a pretty decent camp and has basically done nothing this year. I will say this, and I know he's 38 years old. He'll be 39 next year. If Marcedes Lewis wants to be your number 3 tight end as a blocker that plays 25% of snaps again next year, I'm in. Cole Kmet, ditch Tonyan. He's a free agent. I'd let him walk. Maybe draft somebody in the middle rounds. Hell, maybe you go crazy, get Brock Bowers, go Bowers and Kmet. Lewis is your tight end 3. He has a lot of wisdom for a team like this, a young team like this. He can still block his ass off. If he wants to do it for another year, I'm in. I don't know if he'll want to, but I'm definitely open to doing it. A couple more guys here. Rasheem Green, Josh Blackwell. I don't have a strong opinion on Rasheem Green. He's been fine as a rotation guy. Again, if you want to go vet minimum there and bring him back, that's fine. I don't care either way. He's not a starter. Josh Blackwell, he's a core special teamer. And when he's had to play corner, he can play nickel and the outside. He's held his own. I like Josh Blackwell. He's a perfect CB5 type. Awesome on special teams. One of the better gunners in the league. And in a pinch, if he needs to play nickel especially for you, he can do so. So I definitely want to keep Blackwell, who, by the way, is a exclusive rights free agent, which means he's going to be cheap and the Bears are going to be able to bring him back. So I expect him to be here. Dylan Cole, who's also a special teamer for this team. I'm open to bringing him back. It kind of depends on if Noah Sewell keeps developing, but LB5 type of guy. He can play in a pinch on defense. He's good on special teams. He's not going to cost more than the vet minimum, so I'm kind of indifferent there. A couple more here. Long snapper Patrick Scales, assuming he wants to keep playing, definitely down to bring him back. Remember Joe Reed? They IR stashed him after training camp because he got injured. I think he'll sign some kind of futures deal. Like if you want to bring him in on the 90-man roster this offseason, cool. I don't think he's a threat to make this 53-man roster next year, but he is technically a Bears free agent. Now let me know, which are you most excited for this offseason, the draft or free agency? I think it's got to be draft, although free agency is going to be busy as well. They got about $85 million in cap space. So draft, free agency, let me know which one you are more excited for. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you never miss any of our content here on Bears Now. Join us Sunday morning, 10:45 Central Time for a 12 o'clock Central kickoff against the Detroit Lions. And Put up or shut up time. Matt Eberflus, Justin Fields, Luke Getsy. It's now or never, man. YouTube.com/BearsNow.